All right, Kiss Army, welcome to the KissFAQ Podcast. Thank you for giving us your time today and letting us into your head. I hope we don't do any damage. We're just a bunch of Kiss fans and we talk Kiss. So come along for the ride. You've got nothing to lose. All right, welcome to the KissFAQ Podcast. I'm your host, Julian Gill. Welcome to CMAC, Max, Ronnie Parker, and anyone who's joining us live in the audience. Thank you for joining us on a Saturday morning post 4th of July, where if you're in the United States, you probably didn't get much sleep last night with all the explosions going off. So thoughts and prayers for all your pets. They're probably angry animals today. We had fires starting up in San Francisco. There were people using commercial grade mortars in the neighborhood.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah.
USA.
So go to sleep. Justin Hell, G. Chubb, thank you for joining us. Today, we've got the voice of reason, 69 Blizzard, Ken. And we've got Wheeze, Daniel.
Hi.
With some very sexy Swedish books on your bookshelf there. Nice. Carl Linnaeus and Alex Bergdahl.
Looks like you need more books.
Great topic. Great subject matter. And I love their cover. And, of course, Marcus Almighty Mark. Mark, congratulations on reaching 4 weeks of your one single per week. That was really an
ambitious thing. I know what he was going to say.
Yes. Well, thank
It's
you.
a very ambitious thing.
Thank you, Julian. But it went very well. Thank you to everybody who supported it. I had a great time doing it. I got some good reviews, too, actually, which was very nice. About it, so I'm very happy that happened as well. So if you haven't checked it out, just go to my Bandcamp page. They turned out really good. The main purpose of it was I wanted to just try experimenting with some different techniques with mixing, and rather than do it on an album, I thought do it on singles so I can just try different things with different songs, and it turned out excellent, I thought. So thank you again for mentioning that, Julian, and Ken for picking up the slack there for when Julian got cut off there. And thanks again.
Julian is trying. I can see it. Julian tried to get back in. Okay. He lost connection. I don't know if he knocked himself out or what. But
which is really weird because he was on with me for the last half an hour before.
Yeah, he just I think tried to get back in and popped back out. I'm sure he'll be back in. I'm guessing it's a firework that went off in his or one of those mortars.
Well, while we wait for Julian to get back, any Kiss news that you want to discuss? I can start with one thing, and then Julian can get started.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're back.
All right. Yeah, there's a bug with Chrome and StreamYard, so I just had to switch over to another browser. So hopefully we'll be stable. So, Mark, as I was saying, congratulations. I'm proud of you, and I hope you got a good response to that. So, anyone bought any Kiss shit this week? And I think the answer was no beforehand, but I did. I got
what?
I got the first cover proof copy of Central War Machine, and it caused a problem because it's too damn big. It's going to end up being a $65, $75 book if I do it in this form, which is not what I do, because everyone bitches about prices, and I'm just not putting up with it, regardless of whether it covers the whole thing. So I'm probably going to split it into 2 titles now, with War Machine just covering the Creatures of the Night tour, and then do Give Me More for part 2 to cover Lick It Up. So I don't like selling books, and obviously Ace Book will be a completely different proposition because that'll be an official title. 500 pages of full color, which will be professionally printed, not Amazon KDP.
Oh no, we lost you.
I think it's something. I saw a message about this browser issue regarding StreamYard too. So I'm hoping.
I'm using Chrome too.
I'm hoping mine. I know they just. It's Chrome. I'm using Chrome. They just updated it.
Yeah, I'm on Edge now, and that it keeps shitting. So
I'm on Chrome, and I think Mark's on Chrome.
Yeah,
so.
I'm on Chrome. We're all on Chrome.
All right.
I think you don't have the Kiss version of Chrome, so it's automatically kicking you out.
Yeah, well, I have no idea what's going on, so
hopefully you'll stay in this time.
It's not malware up.
So on your book, Julian, I wouldn't mind the price so much. I mean, that's a nice, cool.
Yeah, but that's you,
book.
Ken. That's one per.
That's,
you're willing to pay $900.
Well, no, if he splits it into two, it's still going to kind of almost add up to the same amount. Probably
it's going to add up to more, just because of the economics of Amazon takes their money before I see anything.
No, I think it's a good idea to have two books, since you did like Unmasked for one book, and The Elder one book. Why not have Creatures and link it up on different books? I think it fits the formula.
If someone likes Creatures and hates Lick It Up, then maybe that makes sense.
Yeah, I hate No Makeup Kiss. Oh, I'll get that one. Yeah.
Yeah. So again, I'm nowhere near really being ready to publish. There's still things I want to write about, and want to make sure that it's worth the money, no matter what. Split in half, split into two. It'll mean I have to engage another cover, but there we go. That's part of it. So that's down the road. I don't think there's a lot of real Kiss news this week. Correct me if I'm wrong, but my head's just been so far.
Was the Bruce Kulick thing new? The video regarding playing this Tears Are Falling, or is that?
I love that. I enjoyed Bruce's video for it. I just wish that it hadn't been so kind of stilted. And here's the first little bit. Here's the first little bit with harmony. Here's the other bit. It was very disjointed from that matter, but his playing is exquisite, and I love the solo. So that's a minor quibble for me. I guess if people are trying to sit there with their guitars in hand trying to copy his phrasing, then it's for their benefit. So I still think there are Drumeo for drums. There's the bass lessons, Scott's bass lessons for bass players. And a lot of those camps, I think it's really missing for kind of Kiss material to kind of just run through it. Not to do it on that level of proficiency and musicianship necessarily that they're doing on Drumeo. But certainly with that quality of breaking down a song structurally in its music components and performing them, I think it would be very... I would watch it. I was watching Jonathan Sugarfoot Moffat all day yesterday, breaking down his Michael Jackson stuff, and just watching that guy do his behind the cymbals behind the head double crash silencing. It just spectacular. I mean, I do love all music, so I can go from Rage straight into Michael Jackson, straight into 80s pop. And it doesn't faze me, and I'd love to see more of that around the Kiss realm, especially if they can mic up a kit of drums sounding as good as Drumeo does, or as the bass guys do with their.
Yeah.
Oh my God! All right, so sort of for the people that are listening and not watching, Julian just lost the connection, and now he's back.
This is just going to be a challenge. So let's get into the topic today. This is Max's topic. Max threw this up on the FAQ for celebrating Eric Carr's 45th anniversary for joining Kiss, and one of the topics he put was rank the 9. Pick your favorite of Eric's 9 Kiss co-writes. It shocked me there were only 9. It feels like there were more.
Yeah.
Stuff that's been out since on Rockology and Unfinished Business and stuff still to come out. There's more. There could be a third album easy if the rights can get dealt with for stuff. But Eric Carr, 45 years. What's the first thing that comes to mind thinking about that, Daniel?
Well, I think of the day he died. Actually, I remember that was the first time one of the members of my favorite band actually passed away, and I was really affected by that. I can still recall when I heard about it. So that's the first thing I think about Eric. There was so much more to do, so much for him. He to prove in the band, and then he got ill, and it all went so fast. I think I wasn't really prepared for his death. News back in the day didn't travel as fast as today. You read about it in Strike magazine. Well, Eric Carr has something. Okay, he seems to get well, and then suddenly, just on MTV News, it said Eric Carr died last night. And by the way, so did Freddie Mercury. So let's talk about Queen and Freddie Mercury. that was the problem. He was overshadowed, of course, of the great Freddie Mercury. But that's what I remember when I'm thinking about Eric Carr. I'm thinking about missed opportunities and that he would have loved the internet. I always thought about that. If he could be here today, be part of podcast, talk with the fans, man, that would be just up his alley. But sadly enough, he missed out on all that. So that's my first thought when I think of Eric Carr.
Ken, what about you?
Yeah, when I think of Eric, I think of what a great addition he was. I mean, you're replacing your original drummer with somebody, and I'm sure a lot of fans were at the time unsure if they're going to want this new drummer and like this new drummer, but it turns out everyone loved Eric Carr, for he turned out to be a great guy, great person, and a great drummer, all three. So I just think about his attitude, what he brought, the energy he brought to Kiss, gave them a new energy when he joined. You can see that by the Australian concerts that they had at the beginning and throughout the 80s, which I was unfortunately lucky to see him several times. So and every time was great, and his inventiveness on the drums too for his solos, which were made it, where it wasn't boring, where it's a beer break or whatever. You enjoyed what he was doing and what he was coming up with. So great guy, great drummer. It's unfortunate, it's really, that he passed away too early, but at least we have the memories of him.
Yeah, I mean, for me, he was the drummer in Kiss when I became a fan. So in some ways, he was my Kiss drummer for many years. And while I may have gravitated back to the originals primarily for my enjoyment, he was that drummer. I loved his drum solos in the 1980s. I still enjoy videos of any of those drum solos throughout his decade with the band. So, to me, he was integral to my initial Kiss experience. He always will be, but also, like Daniel said, very commingled emotionally with Freddie Mercury due to their, passing in close proximity. Very, very sad, both from health issues as well. So with Eric, it was a shock, but we had known that he was ill. With Freddie, there were always the rumors and the announcements immediately preceding his death were shocking to people who were, fans of Queen, as I was as well. And I think I was more emotionally hit by Freddie's death than Eric's, just because I had more of a history with that group. So, Eric Carr, to this day, I do enjoy his material. I enjoy all the stuff going back to Sellerman. I worked on audio for the reissues of what was the one that came out recently? I can't remember. Unfinished Business, the 5 songs I provided for the bonuses. So again, I do appreciate Eric Carr, that little fella behind that massive drum kit that got bigger and bigger with each tour. Just absolutely amazing. And I mean, Peter's not a big guy either, but Eric Carr and that drum kit dwarfs, city streets. So, Mark, what about you?
Everything you guys said. I mean, what else am I going to put? I mean, you guys pretty much went through everything anyway, so pretty much that's what I think of Eric Carr. I guess the biggest thing with me is probably just much like Julian, he was my drummer of Kiss when I got into it, because Asylum was my first big entry point for Kiss. And again, I think the biggest point with me was of course the drum solo as well. I mean, I'm a big drum solo guy. I'm not one of these guys who goes for a piss break during drum solos. I actually appreciate the talent and the skill that it takes to do some of these ones. I mean, being that Rush is my favorite band, that'll tell you all you need to know about that, right? So, but I mean, Eric Carr was great. I mean, his innovations with the Simon drum pads that he did there and constructing songs within a drum solo was fantastic. A great idea, and definitely something that I think he might have paved the way for other drummers. I didn't know many other drummers who did that, with the exception of maybe Bill Bruford back in the day, who kind of implemented melodic stuff within electronic pads to make songs within a drum solo. So
quick question, who is Bill Bruford?
He was the original drummer for Yes. You don't know that? Okay. Come on. And
no one listens to Yes over here, you know.
Oh yeah, nobody except several million people. But
not in Scandinavia. No way.
What do you mean? What are you talking about? There's great shows from Gothenburg that they've done from there. That's all over. Come on, you're just not connected, my friend. That's all.
Sucks.
But anyways, please, I could talk hours about Yes.
I know. Sorry. Continue. You may continue.
Yeah, but anyways, So I think that's a great idea that he did, and like I said, him and Bill are probably the only ones that I've ever saw do that, and then I think it just branched out from there.
Yes, a nice comment, Joey, about the Rise to It documentary. That is available again for watching, and it's doing quite well.
Very good.
Yep, it does sum up the era very nicely. And there is still another documentary in the works for Eric, an official one. I've seen parts of it, and it's got some great content in it as well. So hopefully that'll get finished before too long. So we'll have to wait and see on that, of course. All right, let's get into framing this conversation. Obviously, I did mention that Max had posted the topic on the board, and we're just going to adapt that for our use. So thank you to anyone on the KissFAQ who does post their topics. But we're going to rank those 9 co-writes in order of least favorite to favorite. Now, just because we say least favorite, don't equate that with hate. We don't hate Eric Carr. It is simply a matter of reality. When you rank things, something is near the bottom and something is on the other end. There may be, I don't like it, or it may be that it just ended up in.
Oh no! Once again, we lost Julian.
Poor Julian.
I think what he meant is.
Yeah, go ahead.
There's got to be a goddamn monologue timer on me with this, so we'll just keep going. That's how long it takes me to think back. It's just going to be one of those shows. So, from least favorite, the 9 songs are, of course, Under the Rose, Escape from the Island, Car Jam 81, / Breakout, Don't Leave Me Lonely, All Hell's Breaking Loose, Ain't None of Your Business, Under the Gun, No, 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 and Little Caesar. Mark, let's get you started with, let's go to the numbers.
Yeah.
On 7 points, far at the bottom of this list.
7 points.
In last place is Little Caesar.
Mm-hmm.
I put this last. I've just never cared for the song. And the rest of the album is simply substandard, especially when he had so much other fantastic material available at the time. And for this to be it, some of the demo versions of it are cooler than the final version with Little Caesar. And while I know Little Caesar is kind of a metaphor for himself, musically, it doesn't hit the mark with me. Mark.
Yeah, I also had it last place. I mean, I know Max is going to blow a piston probably, but the whole thing is just like Julian said. He had much better songs. I mean, I immediately think of songs like "Eyes of Love," which wasn't a Kiss song, but one of the songs that he wrote, right? And I definitely think that he had better songs, and I'm surprised that they chose that when he had such better material, available to put on the record. I mean, it's very basic. I mean, I don't know why people would put it so high, because it's really just nothing, just a 12-bar blues sort of song with, slightly more rock, a little bit better, rocking out to it than normal. But it's very basic, vocally, lyrically, musically. It's nothing to write home about. I mean, I bet you if you gave me and Daniel, 4 hours, we could come up with a similar song, no problem.
And canon vocals, it would be great.
Yeah, and it's nothing about his singing; it's about the song. I mean, you can have a fantastic execution of what someone thinks is a poor song. It could be musically great, but the elements don't work. So, Max, no tears. Don't take it personally. Daniel.
Well, I had it in 7th place, so it wasn't last on my list, but it was way down. I always thought the problem with the song was the main riff. It felt so silly. I can't even recall how it goes. It's such a silly riff. So that was a big problem. Yeah, that one. Yeah. I just wish they would have used "Eyes of Love" or even "Can You Feel It." That's a great song. Or "Heavy Metal Baby," just an unfinished demo on his Rockology. That's way better, way cooler, way harder, a real rocker. So he had the material, and at times it feels like, why did they use this song, as you said? Maybe because Paul didn't want him to play one of his good songs. Sometimes I think I'm a bit, like that. I think he got a lot of great songs, but that's the one that's not that great. Let him sing that one. No one will care about that one. I will still be the star. That's just me going off. But at times it feels like that, because all four of us can see that he had better songs. Paul Stanley sure as hell knew that he had these songs. Why did they pick this one? Paul and Gene were in the driver's seat, so at times it feels like they won't let them play their best stuff. So that's my take on it. Little Caesar, not a great song, but I do enjoy having Eric Carr as the lead vocalist on a Kiss record. I think that's a great thing.
Yeah, agree. Glad he got to do that, but he was on the outs anyway. He had to renegotiate his contract for a second 5-year renewal in 1989, and it didn't happen until 1990, and then it was year to year.
Okay. And
just like his
there you go. So it's my turn anyway.
Yes.
Okay.
So for me, I'm starting mine, Julian, now. So for me, Little Caesar was 8th place on mine, so it was low on mine also. But I think the original, I haven't heard the early ones were "Ain't None of Your Business," or no, not "Ain't."
Ain't That Peculiar?
Ain't That Peculiar? That's what it was called. "Ain't None of Your Business" is the other song. But I think it was a better idea. They should have never changed it to the lyrics and all that stuff. I think it was a mistake. I think it's an okay song, but it's just, compared to the other ones on here, I like the other ones, better. But I think the early, like a harder rocking version would have, like Daniel was saying, would have went over better. And I do agree that Paul probably didn't want his better songs on there. Kind of like I always said about the 80s Gene stuff. So
have you ever heard that tribute record that the Swedish band Car Jam recorded? They recorded a version of "Can You Feel It." It's on Spotify.
I don't know if I've heard that yet. No,
you have to go and check that out. "Can You Feel It" with that band? It's a great tune. When it's produced the right way. You only got the demo on Rockology. There's a great version on Car Jam. I think they're called Car Jam 21. Can You Feel It? On Eric Carr. So go check it out.
Yeah. All right. We should probably go to 8 before we lose Julian.
Yeah, in 8th place on 11 points, "Ain't None of Your Business." If you're not familiar with this one, it was written, I think, Creature's era, and given to Wendy O. Williams to join. Just think.
Ooh. Media. Yeah.
Interesting that he didn't play the version from Wendy O. Williams, because that had vocals on it and stuff,
That was an instrumental version.
Yeah. So, Mark, you had started to talk about it.
Yeah, I was just curious. Why you didn't play the Wendy O. Williams version with the vocals on it instead of.
You can go. I'm just doing copyright protection because Universal and several publishers are going hard after channels at the moment and striking them down.
So I ranked it number 5. I had it kind of in the middle. This song, I liked it. I mean, when I heard the song, I could immediately hear Eric's sort of vibe in it. Like I can almost imagine him drumming this. I mean, I'm not 100% certain if maybe he even did drum on this. I don't know. I don't know too much of the fine details of the actual album itself, but it has a great feel to it. What I like about Eric Carr is that you can definitely feel the energy and the push of his songs. Whenever he plays on songs like that, they rank very high with me. You'll notice that in my ranking. Anytime he's kind of pulled back a bit, I don't find him nearly as impressive. I think his sweet spot on the drumming is when he has to do like double kick stuff, when he's a lot more upbeat stuff. I think that's his beautiful place where he does a lot of great drum fills, and he's in his element then. So I think this song in particular kind of shows that off. The interesting thing too is I mean, you can't rely on these Wikipedia things and stuff like that, but it does say that that he's credited for lyrics too. So I don't know if he actually wrote some of the lyrics in this stuff, but if he did, then he's probably a decent lyricist as well. Nothing, it ain't Neil Peart or anything like that, but it's still good rock lyrics. You know what I mean? So it fits with the music as well, really good. So I have nothing, no issues with this song. I think it's actually pretty well constructed.
Yeah, this one just ended up down near the bottom of my list simply because the other ones I like more. But Wendy does a great version live you can go on YouTube and check that out. I think either Eric or Gene could have sung the hell out of this with how she sings it and delivers it, and it would have been a fantastic addition. But certainly, at least it didn't get totally sacrificed. I'd love to hear a full Kiss demo of this one, and I wonder if one exists. I don't know the answer to that. Daniel?
You have to say one thing up front, and that is that all of these Eric Carr songs are okay. There's no real stinker, I think. Actually, this one ended up in 9th place for me. I still think it's an okay song, but I can't really stand her way of singing. That's my biggest issue with this one. I don't care for her vocals. And as Julie mentioned, maybe if someone else sang this song, it would be way cooler. I think I hear Gene on the chorus, and I enjoy that one. But the verses, she's not really that great, a great singer. And also the instrumentals in this song, the guitars and I would say the drums are pretty monotonous during this song. And come to think of it, the whole song is pretty repetitive. I don't think a lot of things happen in the song. When you've heard the first chorus and the first verse, that's it just goes all over, and there's really no fills on the drums. It's hard driven. You can feel the heart. It's someone who really likes to beat the skins, but no variation.
Skins, huh?
Yeah, you know about that. You're the big load guy, so you know all about that. So,
I know all about that.
Yeah, but ain't none of your business is last for me, pretty much because of the vocals. I think I really didn't care for the vocals.
That's fair.
The female Lemmy. It's got a good solo though, and I like the choruses. So again,
I like Gene on the chorus.
Ken?
Yeah, for me, it was 7 on my list, mainly because it's probably my least favorite on the Wendy O. Williams album.
Oh,
my least favorite on that album, because I like the whole album really, but it's not one of my favorite songs on that album. So Gene thought it was good enough to bring it over to her to record and that sort of stuff, among other things. But it's still a decent song. I have no problem with otherwise. It's just it's kind of like what Daniel said. It's kind of monotonous in a way, to a degree.
Yeah, but it's sort of a punk song, so it should be monotonous.
That's true. It is true.
It's sort of a punk thing.
Julian, I got a question.
Get your chainsaw out. One thing before you ask your question, Mark, in case I drop out, and that's when they were recording Animalize, they were doing rehearsals at SIR, and I think it was Thrills in the Night was being rehearsed, and they were thrashing through it, and they taped it, and they taped over Wendy's album. They had a rough mix of the album. It was just pre-master, pre-release EQ'd and all that,
Really?
but that's what they thought of it. Tape over it.
Wow.
All right, Mark.
Yeah, so I'm just curious. Just the ain't none of your business. The one that was on the Destroyer box set, that just has nothing to do with it. They're totally two different beasts, right?
They just have the same title
totally
because
different.
the other one was written by Michael.
I just wasn't sure if one started and then it developed into that, or if it was just something totally different.
It's a good song title, but no connection.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, moving on. I got everyone right.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, this is a tough one. Try to keep track. Yep. All right. In 7th place on 18th points is Escape from the Island.
That's good.
I'll go first before I get disconnected. And this is middle of the pack to me, just because of my emotional connection with the Elder, and this being the B-side of the first Elder song I ever heard, The Oath, the single from Japan. So I like it just fine. It's Eric, it's Ace, it's Bob jamming, and there are quite a few Eric, Bob, Ace jams from the Elder sessions that haven't gotten out. So I dig. It's fun. It's got a great vibe. It's got great attitude. It's got great playing. But it's not really a song. It's a throwaway. So, Daniel.
Yeah, it's kind of. I never really cared for this song. However, I just have to mention in December there will be a Kiss convention here in Sweden, actually focused on the Elder. It's called 1981, a tribute to music from the Elder. It's 4.5 hour only the Elder, and they're sold out the theater that they rented. It's I don't know, a 300 seater or something, but that's pretty cool. They sold out in like 24 hours. That's so great. You guys over there on the other side of the pond, Kiss conventions still can work. It does over here. There's two conventions over here in this little country this year, and tickets are hot. People like it. But back to the song, I think this one is more of a soundtrack, to an action scene or something. It conveys a feeling of being hunted, being stalked or something. And as the title suggests, the character is trying to escape from something. And I think they managed to get that feel into the song. So that's great. But no vocals. To me, it's like a fun thing on the Elder. But it's nothing I go back and listen to. I have to listen to Escape from the Island. No, but I think it conveys that feeling of being hunted, being stalked, being afraid, trying to get away. And I think that's good that they managed to get that through the music, sort of. So that's kind of cool. But to me, it was in 8th place, second to last. So it didn't get very high on my list.
So congrats to the Swedes having a successful sellout of an expo. Now, if only Kiss storms Las Vegas, Kiss Army Storms can do the same. It kind of says something about the content, doesn't it? Or the
Kiss Storms. I think the next thing they'll do is Kiss Storms Stockholm. It'll work.
It'll work there without a doubt. Scandinavian and European Kiss Army, easy to access and hopefully more intelligently priced and structured and thought out and communicated. Yeah. Mark, Escape from the Island.
Yeah. So before I'm just going to say really quickly though that selling out of the convention tells me all I need to know about why people don't know Yes over there, because if you're going to sell out Elder stuff.
Man. Yes, it's a big no.
That's unbelievable that they would sell out on an Elder thing and they don't know Yes. Like that just shows their musical.
Just say no to Yes.
Say no to Yes.
So and I'm sure Daniel.
No to Yes. I mean,
but my number ranking for this is number 4. I disagree with Daniel because I think that this does everything that it's supposed to do. It does exactly what it's supposed to do. It's an instrumental segue. The Elder is supposed to be a movie soundtrack, according to them. Music from the Elder. Yeah. So in movie soundtracks, you're supposed to have these sort of musical interludes in between it, just like Star Wars had. Raiders of the Lost Ark had, and all kinds of different movies had little segue pieces attached to it to connect different pieces of the songs in different parts of the movie. So I thought it worked well. And again, I think that Eric played very good on it. You know, it's like, again, it's not some jazz thing where he has to play something technically fantastic, but it definitely, like Daniel said too, it gives the spirit and the feeling of somebody escaping from an island. That was the whole bit of the part, right? So I definitely think that it's a well-constructed song. Luckily, it's not like one of these 7-8 minute songs. That would have been, absolutely horrendous if that was the case, right? But it's short, it's to the point, and it gets across the point of what it was supposed to say in the movie. So there you go.
Yeah, I think we're sort of on the same page there, Mark. But as a song on itself, I wouldn't rate it over, All Hell's Breaking Loose or Under the Rose.
No way. No, but I'm just saying that in that sense, though, the elder, like the whole album, I get the feeling it was supposed to be meant to be that record where you listen to it from beginning to end, not just drop a needle in the middle of it,
Yeah, that's true. But,
well, for me, I had a number 4 or 5, I think 5 on mine. I agree with actually both of you in different ways, but it's kind of the soundtrack kind of thing. That's how I always thought of it too when I was playing the album when I first got it. And Escape from an Island, and it's instrumental. I thought, it's kind of different for Kiss, doing an instrumental. Well, first really instrumental, I think, since the first album. So and that was actually like a movie theme kind of thing too, right? Love theme from Kiss. And because that was a thing going on back in the early 70s at that time too. So I enjoy that song, the way they play on it. I think it's just fantastic. And I always imagined people escaping from an island. It's not Gilligan's Island, but some other kind of escaping from an island. You're being hunted down by somebody, kind of like Daniel was saying earlier. I enjoy it. I'm surprised that Mark wouldn't want a longer version because he likes long songs. Imagine if they did lengthen it out, they could have another change up in the song to make it work.
But it has to be interesting to do that, right?
Of course, you have to do something different within the song, a break, some kind of change up in it to make it work. But anyway, it's a good one.
All right, which means we're moving on to.
Julian's still here, by the way.
I'm still here. I'm trying to read the contract before we get.
You need to play the commercial. Where's the commercial?
See if it's got non-disclosure in it. So in 6th place on 19 points is No No No. And I'm a no to that because I have never been a big fan of it until doing the Danger Zone book and listening to so many of the solos, and just live, it really worked a heck of a lot better than on album, and I appreciated it a lot more. Up-tempo rocker. So, Mark.
Well, this may be a shock to people, but I put this number 2. The reason why I put this so high is because everybody gives this song slack, but no, it's not just him. I mean, sure, his guitar soloing is great in this too, but I mean, that guitar soloing without Eric's drumming under it would have been completely kind of pointless. I mean, he's, it's not Eruption that he's playing here. He's just doing like a tapping sequence, but Eric's drum thing under that, like just that energy that he gives to it underneath is fantastic. And, and overall, the song isn't like some great masterpiece by any stretch of the imagination, but it's fun. And if you've ever jammed it with a band just for fun, like you'll find yourself that you actually enjoy it. It's easy to play. You'll get into it. Even if you have a decent singer, you can make it sound half decent. I mean, I like that Quarantine version that Jericho did with those guys. That was sort of a fun version that they did with it as well. So I think that it's not that bad. I think it gets badly, placed by people for several reasons. I mean, honestly, and I'll I might get booed out of the door for saying this, but I'd rather listen to this than the ballad off that album any day of the week.
Reason to Live.
Yeah,
everybody got a reason.
I'm just so that's so syrupy. I mean, I'd rather listen to
great 80s stuff.
This has some balls to it. It has some energy to it.
They burn a Porsche.
Yeah,
I like that.
I mean, I still think that this has because don't forget we're talking about Eric Carr here, 45 years of the Fox, So I think that he did a great job on this. He did some fantastic drumming on this song. And back in that Asylum tour, I'm going to say that was maybe one of the high points of the show when they did that whole segment with Eric and with Bruce doing that. I think that definitely people enjoyed that, So I rank it kind of high. It's not my number one, of course, but it's definitely a great example of what Eric brought to the table.
Man, that was a lackluster tour. Watching that Philly show from '87. Oh my lord.
Yeah, well, that was a bad.
I don't know what happened to the band.
They mailed it in, man. Totally.
Yeah. They mailed it in, and then 2 years later, or 3 years later, on the Hot in the Shade tour, they were hot as hell.
Yeah. Yes, agreed.
So, did you give your response on No, Daniel?
No, I didn't. No. Ended up in. How do you say it actually in America? As this is not my native tongue. So yeah, but do you say sixth without the lisping sound? Sixth or sixth?
Yeah, sixth.
No, I think it's without the lisping sound, isn't it? You say fifth, fourth, third, but sixth.
Sixth.
Yeah,
sixth without the lisping sound. Yeah. So in sixth place, I had no, and I think it's a pretty fun song, especially because of Bruce Kulick. Fun guitar work from Bruce Kulick. I recall feeling it was cool to hear him really go wild, go really out there, and being allowed to play that crazy song was mind-boggling at the time. But is it a great song? I'm not so sure. I feel especially the chorus is lacking. I think there's nothing specially happening on the chorus, but I still would say that it's a fun song, maybe not a great song. I like some of the stuff Gene does vocally, like "Got My Foot in the Door." That's a cool one when he really screams. I like Gene screaming, and you really need it on this record because it's a pretty syrupy record. So I like having something that contrasts, all the softer stuff. So I think it has a place on the record, but I feel they were more successful with other heavy tunes from the previous album, Asylum. Yeah. I think Gene did one or two there that's way better than this one, but I still enjoy it. I think it's fun. It's very an oddball kind of Kiss song. So, and it was mind-boggling they did it live. So it's pretty cool if you watch that Tokyo '88 concert. Go and watch that version. I think that's one. That's one. It's entertaining.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And for me, on this one, I think I had number 6. I remember when I first heard it, I thought, "Oh, this is great," what they're trying to do. But then I didn't like it for quite a long time until like the last number of, maybe the last 5 years. I really enjoy it a lot more now than I did back then. I really enjoy it for what it is, which is a cool jam song. And it's the chorus is, not much to it, of course, or anything like that. But I think it's just well done, and it needs, Crazy Nights did need that song on it, I think, because without it, it would have been lost even more. Like you said, Daniel, the album's kind of too much toned down. And like you said, syrupy, polished, too polished.
Agreed.
All right, moving on into, let's see, 5th place on 22 points. This is a 3-way tie broken by the median votes on it. Don't Leave Me Lonely, Eric Carr's Creatures of the Night song, written with Bryan Adams and Jim Vallance, that was released on the Cuts Like a Knife album. So Eric got a platinum record, I think that one went for that album.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously, owners of the Creatures of the Box did hear one of the versions of that. I was just checking for a non-disclosure clause in a contract I signed with Universal, because I turned over a multi-track of that to them. That came after, that was discovered after the box came out.
The box.
5 vocal takes for the song on it. So they could complete it or include it later. I don't have it now, so you can't hear it because it was turned over. So,
You should play it.
Don't have it. I can hear it.
no, the only thing I still have
Thanks
is
for telling us about that.
the Creatures of the Night version and the drum tracks for that. So Eric's vocal is actually very good. But Brian also had a home run with a similar sort of, Brian's voice back then, kind of a whiskey gravelly.
Yeah.
Had a great voice. But it's also a really good pop song.
Yeah, it is.
So I'm glad it's middle of the pack. Hopefully in the future
we'll get Julian back.
We'll get
to hear the other versions with the 5 vocal demos.
Yeah.
Okay. Continue, Julian.
Probably in the future. Julian.
What's that?
Julian, you ended with probably in the future will.
No, again, hopefully in the future they do something with a lot of the unreleased stuff that is in the vault. Some of which I know about, haven't heard. Hopefully we all get to hear it one day in the future. So, Ken, don't leave me lonely.
Don't leave me lonely. Yeah, I enjoy it. It's a well-written song. Almost surprised they didn't use it, but I can understand why they didn't use those two mellow for creatures and that sort of. Though I still love you as mellow, but it's kind of a different vibe to it.
You can only use one of those songs on the album.
Yeah, you can't have 2 ballads or anything like that, or similar songs. So, it's a well-written song. I'm glad it did get released on the Bryan Adams album, which I had back in the day when that came out. I need to get that album again, I think.
Yeah,
great album.
Yeah,
Mark.
I think okay, Mark.
Well, I put it in 7th spot for me, mainly because I'll be honest, I never knew much of the songs. I mean, being that I am Canadian, I know Bryan Adams and I love a lot of his stuff, but I don't own Cuts Like a Knife, nor some of the other albums, because back when he was really popular, I thought that he was kind of lame. I was listening to like Megadeth and stuff like that, so I never was into that stuff until much later in my life, right? But and I listened to this a few times, and I'll tell you this: if I was to continue to listen to this record and listen to this song in about a week or so, I can see myself putting this much higher than I have it now. Okay. I think because it's such a new listen for me, it's kind of where it is. It's not bad. And like I said, none of the songs on here, and like Julian said, none of the songs on here are terrible. It's just of how they rank because of certain situations, right? So for me, it's just not knowing long enough to give it that sort of attention that it needs to put it higher. So I think it's a good song. I can kind of hear where maybe Eric contributed to it. Again, I find that they put there that he contributed lyrically, which I thought was sort of strange. Maybe he did, maybe he didn't.
Wrote most of it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's great then, because I think it fits really nicely with the way the music went. And he's definitely a talented songwriter. I'll just leave it at that.
Okay, Daniel. Now you may go.
Yeah, I think it sounds like a lot of Eric Carr stuff on Rockology. You can hear that it's a Eric Carr song, so it has sort of a formula when writing, rockers or these kind of straight ahead rockers. Pretty catchy chorus, and the riff is very reminiscent of some of the riffs on Rockology. So I can hear Eric Carr in the guitar sound on this song. So I think, and the Bryan Adams vocals, of course, enhances the whole thing. Bryan Adams, one of the best pop rock singers of all time. I think I really enjoy a lot of his stuff, and I think he managed to he managed to do pop and rock. It's very hard to be in the middle. So he has a lot. And then, of course, he has some great ballads back in the day, back in 91, when they released that great Robin Hood movie, where he had the lead off track. Man, I guess he got laid when he played that one.
Was that Kevin Costner?
Yeah, Kevin Costner. Great movie, by the way.
It was a good movie. Yeah.
Really great adventure movie, a Sunday sort of movie you can lay back and enjoy it.
Really didn't I have Elizabeth Ann Mastrantonio in it as Maid Marian, I think?
I don't know what her name. She had really curly hair.
Yeah.
Good looker. Yeah. So a straight ahead rocker, and Brian Adams is such a good rock singer. So I really enjoyed this song. I had it in 5th place.
Nice.
All right. So also tied on 22 points is this one. And we'll just play a little bit of it. All right, before I crash.
Animal.
Yeah, so to call it an Elder song is a crime because it's pre-Elder. But Car Jam, of course, was reused on Revenge, as a memorial for Eric who had passed. And I kind of put this middle of the pack because, it's his drumming. It sounds great from the recordings that they used. It's not a song. And it's so chopped, and taking Ace out of it, at the time I didn't care because I didn't know. I hadn't heard the original. So it's still cool. It's nice as a memorial, but it's not a song. Breakout, however, once Richie Scarlett wrote the lyrics basically and finished it, was a really good song. So central to the early era of Frehley's Comet. So it gets extra points for that. Daniel.
Well, I focused on the Breakout song. I didn't. The Car Jam is sort of the aftermath of his death and all of that. It was cool that they put it on the record, but it's not really a song, so to speak. But Breakout, I love the Bugs. What's it called?
Bunny.
Bugs
What's
Bunny?
funny?
Bugs Bunny. Bugs Bunny. Lonely Tune. I think it fits Ace Frehley so well. And the cool main riff. Down. You know that one. And the drumming from Adam Fig on that Breakout song is just, off the charts. I love the way he drums on that song. And I especially enjoyed that instructional move that he released way back in the late 80s. And they actually performed the Breakout song live with the band sort of in the studio, and you can really see how Adam Fig do the drumming. I think it's really cool to see up close how he does, and I really enjoy that breakdown part, the sort of the bridge. There's some mini drum solo from Adam Fig. It's great. And overall, I feel also the lyrics are great to this song. I don't know who wrote it, if it was Richard Scarlett, because
probably
that the feeling that you're stuck. You're stuck in a you don't like your job, or you're in a bad relationship. You just want to get out, and I think that's the main point of this song. You want to get away. I want to get away. Yeah, and you just feel that you have to get away. And that's something everyone can relate to, especially Lonnie working those alarm system on Saturday mornings. I want to get away and get into the KissFAQ podcast, but I don't have the time. So I love the lyric content in this song. I love the way Anton Fig drums on Breakout, and I actually enjoy the vocals as well. So for me, Breakout is a really cool song. I would have liked to hear Breakout on a Kiss album, as it ended up on Frehley's Comet. So I had it in 2nd place, Breakout.
So I'm curious about whether this song was actually ever called Heaven, or whether that's just what it was called after the recording surfaced. And I don't know if that was before or after Eric's passing, because before, on the Rough mixtape, it's exactly the title that I put up there. So curious, very curious. Mark, Car Jam or Breakout?
No, I listened to Car Jam because we were supposed to be listening to Kiss related stuff, so I listened to that, right? And the 91 Car Jam, it's not a song proper, but again, we're celebrating Eric Carr in his 45 years, right? So I have it at number 6, so kind of right in the middle as well. I liked the Carr version because obviously sonically it was well recorded. It sounds really good considering Ezrin was behind the desk and producing, but it sounds good. And the drum solo, I think, is important in many ways to me. Historically speaking, it has a lot of elements that appear in Eric's drum solos that he did live throughout the years. You could hear them like the that whole thing is so staple to his drum solos throughout the whole year. Yeah. It's almost like he did a drum solo that was like the greatest hits of my drum soloing in one little recording, right? And it sounds good. I mean, if you're a new drummer and you want to talk to some young kids, say, what's Eric Carr's drumming like? This might be a good example to say, here's a short song with him playing with a band, and then here's how he is drum soloing, and they get a good feel of how he is as a drummer. So again, it's not a song, it's not something you can critique with a verse, chorus, and all that stuff, but for an example of showing Eric and his strength as a drummer, once again, I think this is a good example of it. So I had it kind of in the middle.
Okay. Ken? Yeah, for me, I had it in the middle too, kind of. 4 actually. That's pretty high. I really enjoy it. Always enjoyed it. At least Car Jam and Breakout, whatever version. I think it's a well-written. Turned out to be a well-written song. It was cool riffing in it. I think the riff makes the song, though, obviously the drums are great too. But I think something about Eric, he was really good at writing riffs, cool riffs and stuff like that. So that's what really makes the song for me, more than anything else. So really good song.
All right, we better move on before I crash again. So I've actually probably figured out that it's down to me putting a new NVIDIA video card into my system 2 days ago. So
oh my god.
Well, it's to help me, my productivity.
It's really helping. It's really helping.
Just really want to run that AI model locally. Under the Rose, 3rd place, also tied for 22 points, but more high scores than the other two. Wow. Another Elder song, and this was Eric, pardon me, was straight in and contributing to songwriting, and he brought in most of this song. So I always kind of liked the attitude of it, but where did it fall on my list? It fell, top half. So I think it's one of the better songs on the album. It works in terms of his atmospherics, and I'm sure at least an hour of that Elder thing in Sweden will be dedicated to this one song.
Yeah.
Daniel.
Under the Rose. Yeah, The Elder was never one of my favorite albums, but I think when you listen to this song, just the song, I think the vocals from Gene are really top notch. I love it when he goes a bit soft and using his soft voice, and some of those vibratos, or whatever you call it, are great. He's a great singer on this song. So the chorus, I think, is a bit too much overdubs. You have a lot of voices going on during the chorus. I think it kind of, it doesn't really blend well with the the verses, which are beautiful. And then you got to I think it's I really I really don't care for they should have used Gene's vocals on the chorus as well, because this is really a beautiful song that is a bit kind of damaged or destroyed by those choruses. I never liked those choruses. Way too much overdubs, way too much voices. I like the guitar solo, Ace doing something, and you use this sort of a echo effect on the
delay
solo
kind of thing.
Yeah, it's sort of a delay thing. It sounds a bit haunting, and it goes with the ominous lyrics. So I like the solo and the feel of the song. The only thing I don't like is actually the chorus. Like a hockey team, going together and singing, going crazy. You should have kept it a bit more mellow, I think, because in I think this is a beautiful, sort of a soft song. You don't need that, brutal chorus. I think that takes it down a bit. But I had it in fourth place. I still think it's a beautiful song, and I really enjoy Gene's vocals on the verses.
And a great solo, as Max points out.
Yep.
Mark, did I get you? Can't remember.
Nope.
Where I am.
Nope. I'm sure you'll realize that you didn't when I tell you where I rank it. I put this 8th. I second last because
Ouch.
I mean it's not there's no stinkers, but honestly, this is the song on the album that always made me kind of when I got to on here. I mean, I found it very. I understand it. Part of the story, it could make sense to get to that point and to tell the part of the story. But, as far as talking about Eric and, the contributions, I mean, lyrically, maybe the lyrics were fantastic and one of his better writes. But drumming wise, this is, pretty substandard. It's just regular sort of drumming. And of course, he's not going to be, of course, doing some big, gigantic drum fills and shit like this in this kind of a song. You can't do that, right? It's a kind of a ballady approach, right? But I honestly think that he still could have put a little bit more, not fire, but something a little bit more interesting into it than what he did in here. And I just overall the song just didn't really connect with me overall. And I agree with Daniel that the chorus in this, it's like, wow, like the Bourbon Tabernacle choir is singing in the chorus there with these guys. It's just way too many voices, way too many low voices in this as well. Unbelievable. So yeah, I'm just gonna leave it at that, and I'm gonna surprise Julian by I'm not gonna say anything about Ezra. So there you go.
You just did.
You just did. Yeah. So for me, I've always loved the song. It's one of my favorite songs off of The Elder. I think it's a great song, and I understand the thematic movie-ish kind of calling out. I could see these guys standing there saying, we're the elders. We're telling you, do you understand what you sacrifice and all that kind of stuff. I can see them, screaming. It could be like if you see those kind of like a big dome. Just imagine a dome, and there's a guy sitting in the middle, the child, the young guy, and then around there's all these elders, and they start screaming at him, or telling him, "Are you going to do this? Are you going, are you going to accept the whatever?" And it's just visually, it gives me that, but. I love the riff of the song. Again, I said it earlier. I think, and we'll tell probably, I'm sure the next song too. Again, it's another riff kind of song that Eric came up with, and it's it's just great every time he comes up with some of these things. So anyway, I love that song.
Which takes us to the next song, number 2 on our list. It begins with DA, 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 DA. It is Under the Gun. And the intro, of course, was Eric's idea. And I love Under the Gun. 2 of us had it top. 2 of us didn't. So, there's no right answer. There's no wrong answer. I've just always enjoyed that. But I do think the studio version is superior to ever. However, it sounded live. And it stayed in the set, if I recall, for quite a while. But there's just something about it that was a little bit too frantic live, where it was so much more controlled. But I thought that Paul's production on Animalize did it justice there as well. So 26 points. Ken?
Yeah, it's Under the Gun is on the bottom of my list. It's kind of I've never enjoyed the song. It's kind of my least kind of favorite song from those albums, when they did those kind of songs, kind of trying to follow the other bands that are doing these upper, the up tempo songs. So it's okay. It's a good song, decent song, but against these other songs, I don't like it that much. Again, I didn't like it on the album itself that much. compared to the other songs that were on those albums in the 80s. So that's just the way I feel about it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I'll go next. I'll go next. So I had it number 3. Okay. This song is the prime example of what Eric Carr brings to Kiss. This is where he shines. His double bass work on this is fantastic. I mean, it's upbeat. It has lots of fire to it. I mean, like if you being a person who's not a drummer, obviously first, but having seen some of my friends do this kind of stuff, it takes a lot of energy and a lot of stamina to play these kind of songs. And Eric Carr was doing, at times this and faster. Like look at the Animalize concert. I mean, he was doing these things at breakneck speeds. I mean, he was definitely in his element doing these kind of songs. I mean, is it Paul's best, upbeat song that he's written? No, obviously not. But it is fantastic what he does when he's in these kind of songs. I think that this song again is where he lives, where he gets, this is where he earns his paycheck. This is such a great song, showing his playing, and I think it deserves to be where it is in my ranking, number 3. So I'm sure Daniel will have even more great things to say about it.
Yeah, I actually had it at number 1 because
there you go.
This is the Eric Carr song where he's most present, I would say. His drumming is up front, at least on the 1997 remastered version. I think you can really hear his drumming on this song. And it's a really, vital point, vital thing in this song is the drumming. I think it's up there and you can't deny it. It's so great. And also you can hear him singing in this song, the fire part. I like that one. No, not the fire. That's I've had enough. But
they sound alike.
Yeah, they're a bit alike. But I really think you feel that it's Eric Carr in this song, and combining that with Paul's great vocals. I mean, this is Paul Stanley, probably at the height of his abilities, and I actually like Mark St. John's parts as well in this song. I think they really fit this song because on the horror songs on Animalize, I think Mark St. John did a pretty good job, and this is just such a showstopper. I actually enjoyed it live. Just watched that 1990 Detroit concert when they play Under the Gun. I don't know. Did they drop it for the second show or did they play it on both? I don't recall really, but at least it's on one of those shows, and I think it's awesome live as well. I think it's when you need an up-tempo song, you can't. I'm Alive. No, that's way worse on Asylum, or No on Crazy Nights. Way worse. So for me, this is one of Paul's actually best up-tempo songs during the 80s, at least. So I really enjoy it. Number 1. Podcast number 1.
All right, which means that number 1 on our list is All Hell's Breaking Loose, substantially with 33 points. Great song. Great video.
Oh.
Great video. I think he was going to say great video. Yeah, that they did at that time. Continue, Julian. Great video, you were going to say?
Yeah, great video, but not my drivers. So I'll be spending the rest of the day fixing this freaking system. Thanks, NVIDIA. I have no problems with this song. I think it's a great band effort as well of what Eric brought in and what it developed into. I seem to recall an interview where he said he was shocked by what they did to the song, and it took a while to grow on him. But again, an early adoption of kind of that rap or spoken element in Paul's intro. But Eric's an important part of the song musically. So, Ken.
Yeah, again, I always love the riff in this, and I know it would have been interesting to hear the original version without the rapping. I almost wonder if there is a demo out there before, of this song before without the rapping and that sort of thing. That how Eric Carr envisioned it. But either way, it's still a great song. I enjoy it. The gang vocals on it are really great. Everything about it is really cool. So and different, actually, in a way, very different for Kiss, obviously, because of the kind of the spoken rapping type thing that's going on. So I had it number 1 on my list.
Daniel.
Yeah, All Hands Break Loose, such a great song. Number 3 on my list. A peak Paul Stanley once again. It's hard to top a peak Paul Stanley on vocals. I like everything from his screams in like, you gotta tell it to the people right now, or rock the nation, or oh, have you read the news? All those screams, and then combined with his, sort of rapping. I enjoy that as well. I am cool. I am the breeze. I mean, that's so classic 80s. I love it. And the main riff is sort of fun. That one. And I really like the sonics of the Lick It Up album. So this is is a home run. It's a cool song. And the versatility of Paul Stanley on this song is so evident and upfront. So I really enjoy this song, mostly because of Paul Stanley's vocals, I think. But Eric Carr, I recall Eric Carr being a bit upset because they changed it up from his original demo. But I never heard that demo, so I think this one is a home run, a cool song, and it's actually a great pick for number 1.
Warehouse sequences for that video filmed December the 23rd, 1983, in a Manhattan warehouse. So that's straight out of War Machine. Still got to check it.
Mark, another plug.
Yeah, so number 1 for me as well, obviously. Great riff. And the funny thing is, I know Eric said that he was shocked by what they did, but one thing that I've noticed is when you listen to a lot of the way Eric writes, I have a feeling that his version of this song wouldn't have been as good. I think that he would have had a little bit more of a vanilla approach to it, kind of more of a regular singing style to it, but that would have just made it a little bit more, just plain, where I think Paul kind of jazzed it up a bit more and made it a little bit more, at least current for that time. Made it a little bit more, more rugged. With that street hustler comes up to me, like that whole thing was a little bit more like it caught people's attention, at least mine, immediately when I heard that, rather than if you would have started, street hustler came up. Like if you would have sung it, it would have been like whatever. I've heard this 100 times, but this way was definitely much more impactful. And like you said, Daniel, when he does go into his hey, have you heard the news, all those parts, it had much more impact because he was doing the other kind of singing beforehand, right? So I think it was well written, well constructed. I think after a while Eric probably realized that it was the right thing to do, and it turned out to be a great song, and one that they should have played live much more often, in my opinion. I think it was a great song that could have become a live staple if they played it more often. So I'm very happy with it being number 1. I think it's a fantastic song and a great tribute to Eric Carr, the man.
Max had a great point. We can't forget the great solo by Vinnie Vincent. There's a great solo on there as well.
So,
Julian,
what were you gonna say? Yeah, when they teased some of it on the Kiss cruise, people went absolutely ape shit. That
I know Tom and Thayer liked that one.
Yeah, it's a fun song, fun video, and it's also nice, as someone pointed out, I think that, again, being a second single from Lick It Up was very cool for Eric Carr. All right, that's our list. Let's see if I can just quickly put up this recap list before I get bounced out. This is just hell on earth. I would quit if I wasn't. All right, so 9th, Little Caesar. 8th, Ain't None of Your Business. 7th, Escape from the Island. 6th, No, No, No. 5, Don't Leave Me Lonely. 4, Car Jam. 3, Under the Rose. 2, Under the Gun. 1, All Hell's Breaking Loose. It's just very sad that is the representation of Eric's co-writing on Kiss albums. Again, that's what we have to go by, and it is what it is, and at least we have all that. So would have been interesting. I don't think he would have been in the band much longer than he was, to be perfectly honest. But what he might have done as a solo artist after Kiss would have been very interesting. And at least we do have plenty of other music of variable quality to enjoy from him. So looking back at 45 years of the Fox, Max has a bunch of topics going up on the FAQ. Thank you, Max, for all of those. I'm going to try and do a little dive into his contracts during the month. The changes from the draft, the one that he signed right before the Palladium gig, into he renewed in 1985. I don't have that, but I do have his 1989-90 renewal as well. And I believe he fell victim to a wage reduction, just like Vinny did after they got shit canned from Phonogram for being naughty, naughty boys.
There you go.
Enjoy his naughty too.
I guess that'll probably be the ending. I'm pretty sure.
Almost.
Yeah, because I have had enough. Okay. That is it. So thank you for putting up with my dropouts. That is the show. That is our list. What is your? Chime in the comments wherever you've listened to the show. Your favorite Eric Carr co-written Kiss song. But for now, from Daniel, Mark, Ken, and myself, thanks for joining us, and thank you, Max, for the topic, and we'll see you soon. Thank you for spending time listening to the KissFAQ podcast today. All sales are final. There are no refunds. If you'd like, look us up on Facebook or come over to the message board and discuss the topics we've broadcast today. Don't forget to hit subscribe wherever you've listened to this show, and a like would very much be appreciated. We hope you'll join us again, but until then, remember, life's a radio. Turn it up to 10.